So I want to introduce Pablo Suarez. I will give you the formal title and then ad-lib a little bit. Pablo is the Associate Director for Research and Innovation at the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Centre. He's also with Boston University. And Pablo is, I'll put the card away now. Pablo gave one of the greatest side events in Warsaw that I've been to, and it was on improvisation and getting people out of their comfort zone and thinking more creatively than you do when you do what we've subjected all of you to this morning. And we apologize, but we couldn't break out of that. And it turned out that he had made the whole thing up the night before, or the morning of, maybe. And Pablo I've learned a lot from Pablo in his using games to educate people. And it's a lot of fun. It's also very educational. And we decided that we would expose you, subject you, give you the opportunity to experience this firsthand. Some of you may have met Pablo through other things. We had him at an event about a year ago, I think. If you've been to Climate Development Days at the COPs, you may have come across Pablo. But anyway, buckle your seatbelts. This should be fun. And over to Pablo.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. You have been told at least more than once that this would be unusual. I thank you in advance for your tolerance, and I beg your forgiveness if I put you outside of your comfort zone in a way that is a little bit excessively uncomfortable. Should that happen, please blame me as a person. My name is Pablo. If anything that happens is good, don't think of me, think of my team, the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Centre, who, with our partners and our donors, including USAID and others, have enabled. My role is to be Associate Director for Research and Innovation. In order to innovate, you have to try things that maybe work, maybe don't. Today, we're going to try some things that will work for the majority. But if you're someone for whom it doesn't work, thanks for your understanding. I promise you it will be worth trying, okay? So big thanks to the organizers of this. I know you're taking risks. You didn't know you're taking more risk than usual. I should say that my team also was a beneficiary of one of the grants from ACRD. We did really interesting work in Zambia, also with Ed Carr, and we could afford him, and it was great, and we shall do more. There will be instances during this coming less than an hour where there will be a lot of need for you to self-organize. I will give an instruction, and you have to figure it out, and you will have less than a minute, and you have to do it or you fail. And if you fail, you just miss everything else, like in the real world, okay? So be quick, and if you get to a suboptimal implementation of the task, that is way better than complete failure, okay? So accept that you will make mistakes. Indeed, this activity, this set of activities is designed to make you fail. Some of you, some of the time. Maybe most of you all of the time. Depends on how smart you are and how well you can read things that happen. There will be confusion. There will be substantial confusion. Indeed, this hour or so is designed to push you to the tolerable edge of confusion. Okay? Once you start understanding what's going on, I will start adding confusion, changing the rules, making you do strange things. Thanks again for your understanding. If anyone really doesn't like it, you can walk away. It's okay, we still love you. There will be teams. There will be teams, and like in the real world, teams are not always equitably endowed. Okay? So there will be two regions. This is one region, and this is another region. There's more people on this side. They're likely to beat you. Should you win in the competition that involves, this versus that, you would be so awesome, and you guys would be the opposite. There will also be parts that are happening at the table level. More people in the table is better. So here you have 4 people. You may want to either migrate to other tables or whatever you want. But if you stay 3 in a table, you're almost guaranteed to not win, but more importantly, not get it. Okay, so please, this is your only chance to reorganize. John, I'm going to invite you to come here with me, and you two, I invite you pretty much now to find a different chair with a more populated table. There will also be activities. Good, I love it. You already want to talk to each other. This is good. This means that something's happening in your minds. There will be moments where I will accept that you're distracted, but I will share information. And if you don't receive and process that information, like in the real world, you may be in trouble. It's up to you to be distracted or to distract others at your own risk. Within each table, there shall be 3 teams. So right now, I want everyone to form a fist with your hand, choose one hand, look around the table. With your neighbors, you have to form 3 teams, exactly 3 teams, of about 3 people, because you have about 9 people per table. So when I say ready, set, go, you will all go like this, but you have to converge the fists so that there's exactly 3 teams and no one is left out. Ready, set, go. Fists touching each other until there's only exactly 3. You guys are not good. I see 4 groups here. 3 groups, fists touching. 3 groups. Okay, your fists are not touching. You didn't form a team. Please do it. Yes, here. This is one team. That's one team. That's one team. Perfect. Good. Thank you. So, see this? This is exactly what I wanted. Can you use your elbow to invite your neighbor to silence a bit? Can you help me accomplish silence? Can you help me accomplish silence? Can you yourselves accomplish silence? Good. You yourselves are in charge of accomplishing silence as well as other things. All tables will have 3 groups of however many people. It's better for you to have roughly equitably distributed. Good, we start. We start with another thing that seems to have nothing to do with what we're here for. We're here for climate resilient development, yeah? We're going to do something called Snap. Has anyone played the British card game of Snap? It's a card game, but we don't have cards for everyone, so we're going to play a version that has imaginary cards. John will help me. Oh, one thing I didn't mention is that in addition to the region and the table and the groups within a table, you're going to be sectors, you also will have to form duos, pairs. And this is a game where you will form pairs. Not quite yet. So here's the game. Each one of you is going to hold an imaginary deck of cards. Please hold it. Please do this. Good. You have many, many cards, 100 cards, all number 1 to 10. Please shuffle them. Okay. Now, look around you and find a partner and shake hands with that partner. Try to not leave anyone out. If you don't have a partner, stand up and find a partner in another table. Shake hands with that partner. Good. Some of you may have dropped your imaginary cards. Some of you may not have a partner. You must find a partner, okay? So here's what we're going to do with our partner. We're going to swap the top half of the imaginary deck and shuffle a little bit more. So they're now mixed, yeah? In the deck, there are many, many cards with numbers 1 to 10. Now, I will be the only one doing this with John. You look, and then you will go on your own. John and I are going to take the top imaginary card. We're going to make some body gestures so we know we both do it at the same time. We flip it, and when it's flipped, we both at the same time say the imaginary number in that card. At the same time. For example, 6. He said 2, I said 6. Nothing happened. Come closer to the microphone. 4. He said 5, I said 4. Nothing happens. We keep going. 4, 7, 2, 5, as fast as you can, but always saying it at the same time, until you both say the same number. When that happens, the first player to say, snap, takes all the imaginary cards and wins 1 imaginary point. And then you keep playing. You have 1 minute. You have to try to snap as much as possible. So what will happen is you will go like this. 3, 7, 4, snap! 2, 10, 9, 4. Someone snaps me, I lose the point, etc. Until I say stop. When I say stop, please help me accomplish silence because this room will get very loud. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Shake hands with your partner. Shuffle your deck a little more and be ready. Ready, set, go. Okay, please stop. Silence, please. If needed, use your elbow or walk to the person talking. Okay? Good. I heard a lot of snapping. Congratulations. Did any group snap more than 3 times? Raise your hands. All right, not many. 3 snaps is difficult. Now we're going to play a modified version of this game. Very, very similar. Only that in your cards you do not have numbers 1 to 10. You have names of animals. You know more than 10 animals. Don't say anything until the game starts. You cannot use the word animal. Shuffle your deck while you think what animals are in there. Get ready, ready, set, go. I want to make a training video because people are suspicious until it works. Okay, stop! Stop, please. A lot of laughter in this room, a lot of bonding. People are making friends, and more importantly, I noticed a lot of you are like, yeah? You don't know what you think about animals. Also, how many of you snapped 3 times or more? Nobody. It's much harder to snap for several reasons, including that when you're so concerned about what you think, you stop listening. When I played this game for a first time as a player, I was saying, giraffe, zebra, lion, and my partner was saying, dog, cat, mouse. Guess what? It took us half a minute to notice that we were never going to snap. Sounds familiar? All right, now we're going to shuffle your last deck. Let me say one thing. With animals, you could have said dog, you could have said black panther, which is 1 animal, 2 words. Now, in your deck of cards, you're going to have words or concepts of 1 or 2 words that are words or concepts that you associate with the idea of climate resilient development. You've gone through half a day. You are here because you've been doing some of these things before. So I guess there's something in your head that relates to climate resilient development. Think of that deck, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Look your partner in their eyes. You have less than a minute. Ready, set, go. Okay, stop. Very good. I can tell that this room is energized, and I can also tell by some of your faces that when you hear what your partner is thinking about, you're like, what? Really? Very often this happens when you have someone saying software interoperability, and the other one says index insurance. You know? These are things that may completely relate to what matters to us, but maybe matters to you and not to your partner. So now what we're going to do is to use your fist and form again those 3 groups in the table. See who your 3 groups are. Okay, as a group, well, you have to form group. You have 6 people. Come on, don't tell me you cannot organize 3 groups. Good. Okay, I need your attention. This is a difficult part. As a group of somewhere between 2 and 4 people, you're going to reach out to the center of the table and take 5 pieces of paper, blank papers. They should be in the center of the table. Yeah? 5 pieces of paper per group. As a subgroup in your table, here's what you're going to do. You're now very concerned counting. Yeah. Okay. You don't need to talk while you count. So here's your task. As a small group, you have 5 cards. In each card, you're going to write one of the words or pairs of words that you want to put in your deck of Snap for climate resilient development. You cannot write climate, you cannot write resilient or resiliency or resilience or anything like that. You cannot write development or developmental or stuff like that. Okay, you write what you want, and your intention is that those cards will snap with others. So you have about 2 minutes as a group of 2 to 4 people to fill those 4 cards, 5 cards per group, and you have to write 1 term per card as if it were the real card. Okay, go. 2 minutes. And stop writing. No one write. Time is up. If you didn't write your 5, too bad. Okay, now you have a pile, yes? I want on the first card in the pile to write the name of the person who is closest to it. Full name, first name, last name. So we can identify you, because there will be a winning group with prize and all. Write the name of the person who has the pile. Write your name on it. Somewhere on that, on just the first one. Yes. Write just your name on the first paper. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. May I have your attention? Thank you. Don't you love it that you want to talk to each other so much and not listen to the keynote speaker? Does it sound familiar? So I'm going to start with this group. You have several cards. You have 5 cards. I want you to choose the card that you think is most likely to snap a lot with other groups. Choose one right now. Only this group. Everyone else look, okay, which one? Excellent. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to bring, you can go, Johnny. I'm going to bring the microphone to them. She is going to read the word, which in principle is likely to be related to everything else. You guys are talking too much, you're not going to understand what's about to happen. Use your elbow to ask for silence. Otherwise, this will become really obnoxious. Half of the time, I will ask for silence. Thank you. So she's going to read that word. If your group of 2, 3, or 4 people wrote that word, you say, snap! Okay? Ready, madam?
Vulnerability.
Very nice. I'm going to walk over here. Choose another that you hope will snap a lot. Shh.
Infrastructure.
Okay. Now I'm going to walk to this table, and I want you to choose a card that you think is the least likely to snap. Okay, here.
Governance.
Aha, good guess. They wrote it so that they would try to get a snap, but they're aware that governance is not being talked about as much as infrastructure. Remember John Furlow sharing with us the idea of zoning and so on? So what we're going to do now is our 4 awesome contributors to this section are going to pick up all your papers, and they're going to process it so we see which team is the winner. Let them grab those papers. Make sure that the name is visible in the first card, and we move on. So, I should mention that this game called Snap is a modified version of an existing card game. This modified version was designed by a fellow called Paul Z. Jackson from the Applied Improvisation Network, a place where I learned a lot of tricks to make people talk to each other in a meaningful way. And now we're working with MIT students to design a digital platform that if we had a projector, you would see the prototype. We will create a word cloud that shows in real time what you think. You would send your entries not in paper but via SMS, and then we see how big is governance and how big is infrastructure. Okay? These are the kinds of things that I would argue we need to do much more of if we really mean it when we say we want climate resilient development. Why? Because we tend to organize our events in a way that maximizes unidirectional messages and doesn't enable the collective awareness of what do we think, where do we share what we think, where do we have disagreements, and how do we quickly identify whether or not we want a solution. The idea that John shared of the Jamaica tourism transport people not talking to each other, they only started talking to each other when someone physically went to the other table and said, oh, the road is going to be moved out of the coast, there's not going to be access, and then came back, and only then they started talking. If we don't change the modalities of how we use our time, I predict, and I used to be a scientist working on atmospheric models of prediction and so on, this is a much better prediction than any El Nino, climate change, hurricane, whatever. I predict that we will never promote what matters to us, climate resilient development, at the rate that we need. We need to create more interaction like we just did. Now, not surprisingly, I am now in the unidirectional mode. I'm reprimanding you for not doing more of the interactive things in your events. Yeah? If you want to do more of that, go, try, ask, fail. It's okay. If we don't fail in our events, we will fail by having people building roads in the wrong place or building hotels in places not served by roads. All right, moving on. My team, the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Centre, it's a global team. It's like a think tank within the humanitarian sector. We help others understand and address the humanitarian consequences of both climate change and extreme events. So anything from flooding to El Nino and droughts to malaria outbreaks to sea level rise. And we're humanitarian. What are we doing in a development event? Well, if development fails, we have to pick up the pieces. And we're constantly picking up the pieces. We have a team of about 10 growing. And let me share with you one of my colleagues, Beck McNaught, she's based in Vanuatu. Have you heard of Vanuatu recently? Good. So let me read to you from the BBC current page. For those of you who didn't hear it, PAM, a tropical cyclone category 5, just hit Vanuatu. My colleague left Vanuatu before it arrived. She had to change her ticket. She was going to leave when the landfall was likely. So she's out, but she knows a lot of people who are in and she doesn't know how they are. So the president is now in Sendai, for those of you who know anything about disasters. Vanuatu, he says, is in immediate need after Cyclone Pam tore through the country. President Baldwin Lonsdale said the storm had wiped out all development of recent years and his country would have to rebuild everything. So we already have a lot of work. We already are desperate trying to find survivors. Yeah? Of these homes that were broken, the roads we cannot reach, the bridges. We want these things to not happen. But if USAID or anyone else is going to help rebuild, we want that rebuilding to be climate smart. Yeah? So we're trying to engage with the development sector to think from the humanitarian perspective. We organize the climate and development days at the COP with others. We have worked with the World Bank's chief economist for sustainable development at the time. Now Marianne Fay is chief economist for climate change because she wanted to explain some things and she wasn't getting the message through. So the World Bank chief economist hires the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Centre to design a game to help communicate some things. That's the game we're going to play now in a modified fast version. Okay? So, brace on. You are now going to compete and collaborate, if you want, with each other at the region level. There's one likely candidate. At the table level and at the individual level. Okay? Each one of you is going to have 3 choices. As a person, you are, I don't know, minister of something or other. You can invest in development. You do invest in development by going like this. Everyone show me your investment in development. Now. Good. It's pretty easy to do, but it can be wiped out. For example, by a flood. You could also invest in protection against too much rain, which is complicated. Depends on whether it's a dam or agriculture or tourism or whatever. In this game, we're going to represent it with an umbrella. If you want to invest in protection against too much rain, you go like this. Everyone show me your investment. Excellent, thank you very much. The other thing you can do is maybe it doesn't rain enough. Yeah, you build a dam for hydropower and it doesn't rain as much and you don't have hydropower unless you make it bigger. So this year you're turbinating water from the previous year that was accumulated. So for that, you're going to collect water, you're going to make a bucket. Show me your bucket. Good. So you have, each one of you has 3 choices. Development, protection against too much rain, protection against too little rain. Is that clear? You can do nothing if you want. You can even engage in science when the time arrives. Good. Now, how do we know about the rains? The game is called Decisions for the Decade. We're going to play 10 consecutive rounds. This is the rain for you. This is the rain for you. A 6 is too much rain. If you think one of these may happen, if exactly one of these will happen, you want one person to do what? Show me. The umbrella, right. One umbrella protects against one of these. If this happens, what does it mean? Drought. You want to have one of those for every case where this happens. A 2, 3, 4, or 5 is normal rains. You want to do this. Yeah? We're going to play 10 consecutive rounds. I'm going to illustrate with this table. Let's say you are the only one who does flood preparedness, and you 4 do drought preparedness. Everybody else do development. Please stand up. This is a sample round, okay? So for this group was the yellow, right? So I'm going to throw this 10 consecutive times. Please express your choice and stay like that until the end of the game. Yeah? So you are drought, yeah, so you do the bucket. Everyone can see something, right? So please, unless you have some physical inconvenience, make it visible for those outside of you. Make this or that to the extent possible. Good. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw your rainfall 10 consecutive times. Whenever there's a disaster, one person that is protecting that disaster sits down. You used up your superpowers. If no disaster happens, nobody sits down. 10 rolls. Roll number 1, it's a 5, no problem. Second year. It's a 2, no problem. Year 3, it's a 6. Some flood person sit down, only 1. You choose, self-organize, do it now. Good. Year 4, another 6. Someone else sit down. Year 5, these are not loaded, by the way, as far as I know. A 1. Now there's no more drought protection. What happens if another drought happens? All development is wiped out. Everybody sits down while shouting, "Oh no!" Is that clear? Is that clear? The same if 3 or more floods happen. Okay? So that was year 5. Year 6. No problem. Year 7. A 5, no problem. Year 8. A 1. And you all sit down. Okay? Now, should there not have been a drought or a flood, and it just kept going until the end of year 10, at that point, those of you who are like this, stay like this, and those who invested in drought or flood protection, you kind of wasted your investment because you never protected it, you sit down. At the end of the 10 years, your objective is to have as many development investment people as possible still standing, not wiped out by development. Are the rules clear? Assistants have already shared with each table, and if they haven't, they are about to do it, a sheet like this. In the first row that shows the 2 dice, each of the teams will write how many in your table are going to invest for development, how many will invest for too much rain, and how many will invest too little rain. Some number between 1 and 10. There has to be at least 1 investment in development. That's non-negotiable. You can have all development or only one development and everyone else drought or flood or whatever. Rules clear? You have 3 minutes to self-organize. Everybody stand up. Oh, before you start talking, listen to me, please. Listen to me, please. Please, please, no talking. Please, no talking yet. Shh, thank you. Okay, what we're going to do is I will give you a countdown. By the end of the countdown, you have to make your shape and sit down. And write down how many people in each sector. Yes, sir. If there's a flood and you don't have someone protecting you, the entire team is wiped out. Okay, go, 2 minutes. One, and stop. Make your shape. Count how many thumbs up and write it in the center column. Count how many umbrellas, write it in the umbrella column. Count how many buckets, write it in the bucket column. Okay. Now, you are about to send this plan to the line ministries for implementation, but something happens. Have you heard of climate change? So you may bring down your hands for now. This is not a die. This is what in science we call the probability distribution function of precipitation based on the past record. Yeah? So in the past, sometimes there was too much rain, sometimes there was too little rain, on average 1 in 6 of each. You don't know what will happen, sometimes there's more or less. But this is based on the past. The present is no longer like the past. I hereby give you climate change. So for this region or that region, we don't know, the science is still growing. I will throw this 10 times, throw it up in the air. Eventually it stops moving. If it stops moving when it's like that, no problem. Good idea to have thumbs up, invest in development. If it stops moving it's like this, that's too much rain. Good idea to invest in the umbrella. If it stops like this, it's too little rain. Good idea to invest in the bucket. For one of the two regions. For the other region, it's the same but different. Okay, it's a slightly differently shaped cone. Okay? Same idea. This is good rains. This is too little rain. This is too much rain. You have 3 minutes to adjust your plans and write them in the bottom column. Now, if you want, you can send someone from your table to come and learn which goes to which two and also to look at it. You cannot toss it, but you can touch it. You have 3 minutes to make that decision. Those of you far away, sorry, you're far from the capital. 3 minutes.
Can we try it?
No.
Okay.
Because this is at most a simulation.
Okay.
No. This is a mathematical representation of the future climate. Yeah? And for those of you who are here, this one is going to that side, and this one is going to this side. Okay? Okay, one quick comment. One quick comment. Those of you who came to talk to the scientists, it takes some time. So you already invested in learning about climate science. It's more job than you thought. You sit down. You cannot invest in development or protection or anything like that. Please sit down if you came. Because there's a cost to learning. Now you have 30 seconds, everyone who's still standing, 30 seconds to go thumbs, bucket, or umbrella. Make your decisions. Make your decisions. 5, 4, show me your hands. 3, 2, 1, show me with your hands and stop. All right, when I said stop, I could very clearly see that Joanne here was not putting her arms in any way, right? Why? Because she was too busy thinking about the adjustment of the things. Most other people did something, but some people didn't because they're too busy adjustment. I didn't meet the deadline. Madame, you sit down. Anyone else who wasn't in any position sits down. Okay. Can I see, is there any group that invested in only one thumbs up? Okay, those of you who did so, did you invest everything in one of the two, or did you invest only in drought? Did you invest only in flood? No, okay. You may all sit down. We do not have the time to play it. More importantly, like in the real world, it takes a decade to see what the climate will be like in a decade. Now, let me tell you something. Having played with these guys many times, actually having been involved with the design, we had an undergraduate student toss 24 of these, 100 times each, with and without spin, and documented the perfect revised probability distribution function. An entire region, one of the two, would have been entirely wiped out. You don't know which one, and you don't know because of what disaster. Exactly like in the real world. Now, that means I have to end this game right now. What an awesome timing. We have 15 minutes left. Let me tell you one little set of stories and then invite you to play the final game. My team is small, and I love the people I work with. My dear colleague, Beck, right now she has tears in her eyes because as of now she doesn't know whether her colleagues, the people she loves and works with, are alive or dead. Yeah? And we saw this going towards Vanuatu for the past 4 days or so. We had some probabilistic information that something bad could happen. I could share with you all the news items, reports, etc. The funding begins to be mobilized now, the day after. Yeah? Now, we are several. One of my colleagues, Donna, she's based in the Philippines, in Manila. She went to the COP when the super typhoon Haiyan was heading towards her country. She left when the storm was going, the strongest ever to hit the Philippines. My dear Donna, I saw her suffering. My dear colleague Atta is working with was at the time working on an innovative project that was climate risk management in areas that are emerging from conflict. He was in Somaliland, where, you know, the biggest risk is a non-climate risk. You have to think of bullets. A tropical cyclone hit Somalia when he was there, and 100 people killed or so. I am from the city of La Plata in Argentina. I was in Malawi when I learned through the BBC that my city had an unprecedented flood, 400 millimeters of rain in 8 hours, 30% more than the previous record ever. The wife of my grandmother's butcher died. I live in Boston now. We just broke the record for snow. A lot of shoveling going on. Things are happening. Now, what can we do to improve development and to improve the relationship between development and humanitarian work? The colleagues are going to share with you, if they didn't already, the last bunch of game materials. This is going to be very different. And I want you to, 3 per table, please self-organize. Each group within the table take one of those paperclip packages. We're going to have to move very fast. Good. Make room as needed. Don't open anything. Leave the package as is with a side that says early warnings, early action, face up. If you don't see early warning, turn it around. Good. Early warning, face up. Good. You all see that. What we're going to do is to play a game or a playful activity where you will come up with a soundtrack of a movie. It's a very short movie. It has only 5 images, and it can be a soap opera in a village in Mexico downstream of a dam. It can be an MTV music video with rappers going whatever you want. You make it up, but you will make the soundtrack with words of the actors or with special effects or with music that are related to what's going on in terms of climate stuff. For example, in the first one, if I were to make the soundtrack, I can see there's a sun with a cloud, so I could say, you know, the characters are singing and they're happy, la, 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 la. And then they see a dark cloud in the horizon and they say, what is that? Then it starts raining. It's a rain, but it doesn't kill anyone. Then the sun comes and they start singing again. If you flip, it's now folded. If you unfold that page, please do now, you will see my proposed soundtrack. This is an example, okay? There's some music, there's some singing, and then there's some confusion. Then they say, oh, something happened, but no big deal, and then goes back to normal. That's example number one. Take that page away, and now look at the blue that is under, the yellow that is underneath. Good. Don't unfold, please. So now there's one new element, two actually. On one hand, you will see somewhere over there this depiction. It's the rain like before, but now there's so much rain that it causes flooding. Yeah, this is a possibility. This is a risk. A disaster could happen. Yeah, you see it somewhere hiding in that place. You see it hiding next to a triangle with an exclamation point. Yeah? This is a warning sign. When you're driving and you see this, you say, oh, oh, exclamation point. Watch out. Something may be about to happen. In this image, what that depicts is scientists observe the possibility, the high probability of an extreme event of flooding. And then what happens is that it rains a lot, but no one gets flooded, and then the sun comes back. And then eventually there's another warning. So what do you think? Think about it for a minute. What would be the soundtrack for your movie for that? The first one starts with la la la, whatever. And then when the warning comes, what is it? You have 10 seconds. Okay, pause please. Pause, pause, pause. Unfold. That is my example. It's not the correct example. Unfold only the green yellowish thing. Yes. So you see what I showed, if I can get your attention while you read, is same la 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 singing. And then when the forecast comes, this is the first forecast in that place, be it the youth urban rappers or the soap opera people in the village downstream of the dam. When they hear, they go like, huh? Ask our colleagues from IRI how people react to their forecast. Because of anomalies in the sea surface temperature, there's now an enhanced probability of rainfall in the upper tertile. It's enhanced from 15% to between 40 and 50%. People go like, huh? And then when it rains, but it doesn't flood, if that is the case, they go like, bah, yeah, whatever. And then they keep singing. And then when the next forecast comes, they're likely to say, whatever. Now, it's your task now to write as a group. You have literally 2 minutes. Write the script of the blue one that follows. Don't unfold yet. You have 2 minutes. Go for it. Stop. Write very quickly the last words and stop. Can you choose? Shh, thank you. This table, choose one of the things that you wrote that you think is original or very conducive. Here. Choose one and say it.
Da, 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 da.
All right. I can tell you, he said that, but he didn't say another one that he has that I think is awesome.
Say that one too? Oh shit.
That's what we tend to do. That's what we're saying now in Vanuatu, right? You can unfold, and you will see what I wrote. Yeah? Now what matters to me is what follows. No money, no time when the disaster is happening, and then when the dude arrives with a suitcase of money, it's too little and too late. Yeah? Now, I'm going to show you this. This is a plan for disaster response. Yeah? That guy didn't even have that. The guy running with the suitcase. Now go to the final piece of paper and come up with your own soundtrack. You have 2 minutes or less. And stop. I'm going to come to this table and invite you to say something that you think is worth saying.
We were not ready.
All right. Anyone willing to share? Okay, so no, I won't give the microphone. Why? Because when it was many of the other things, you all had things to shout and so on. But with this one, you don't really jump at it. This is exactly what is happening to the humanitarian sector now. When we see the disaster coming, and every time there's a climate-related disaster, we see it coming. It doesn't pop up. There are some anomalies beforehand. Every time we see that, every single time there's a flood, before the flood there was too much rain. Every time there was too much rain, before the too much rain there was a giant big cloud. And every time there was a giant big cloud, some scientists saw it coming. And when we say, hey, something can go wrong, can we start doing something? Guess what? Those who understand the forecast, those who have access to the forecast, those who want to take action for the forecast, don't have the resources to do anything about it unless they spend money from reconstruction, which they got, or they spend money for trainings or changing the tires of the vehicle or building a shelter that they got. We have no money to take action before the disaster, after the forecast. Because of that, no one makes a plan. I've been traveling the world for the past decade, helping IRI and NOAA and others communicate science, and guess what happens to people? Oh yeah, it would be nice to do this, 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 and that. I can't do it. Or they smile and they don't say that they can't do it. So my invitation to this room is to consider how can we build mechanisms, systems, policies, platforms, budget lines, trainings, whatever, to take action before the disaster, after the forecast, at any timeline. Whether it's a tornado, right now in Kansas, before a tornado, there's 7 minutes when go, right? Someone sees it coming and people go to the basement and survive. And they built a basement with a special lid. They had their own resources to do that. I was just in Togo. There's a hydropower dam. The hydropower dam has changed the behavior of flooding. It used to rain like hell upstream sometimes, and then the water slowly rose, and then people maybe died, maybe didn't. With the dam, it accumulates, it fills the dam, and then when the dam is at risk, we let the water flow. And guess what? People downstream may suffer and die. Turns out, downstream of every dam, every hydropower dam, if there's an extreme event that is the first one since the dam, people will suffer and die if there's anyone there. Why? Because when we give money for the dams, we give money for the salmon and environmental impact assessment so the salmon can go upstream. We give money for relocation of people, maybe if they're going to get flooded. But we don't use the dam as a factory of information that can tell us exactly how many cubic meters per second are going down and exactly how many homes will get flooded. Is it one house or 1,000 houses? And with that, my colleagues can send how many tents. So what we're doing now, and I am about to run out of time, so everything is working according to plan. I'm a little bit more emotional than I should have been, so thanks for your tolerance. I grew up in an Italian-speaking household, so that explains. But things that we are doing that we make entirely at your disposal. We are developing an analytical framework, working with colleagues from academia, working with very competent people, that for now we're calling forecast-based financing, which means don't wait until today, a day and a half after the cyclone causes damage to Vanuatu, to start looking for money. Have some resources, including money, but also people, brain power, university students, plans, programs, people from ministries, ready to take action before the disaster, after the forecast, whether it's a sea level rise projection that is about to come out, or more likely seasonal or less than seasonal forecasts. That will help us make plans that will help save lives. Take advantage of development as a machine that can create knowledge. Next time there's a hydropower dam, can we turn it into an early warning system? I'm very happy to report that our colleagues from the Togo hydropower dam are working with us and our students. Our students are improving the forecast of reservoir level because Red Cross volunteers are going to help better read rainfall upstream. The hydropower dam will make more hydropower with the rain that comes from the sky, and we will have better early warning systems downstream. Only because the hydropower dam team happens to be good and the Red Cross in Togo happens to be good. Can we systematize that? With everything. Bridges are the same. A bridge can tell you how much water is going down. Can we turn it into an early warning system? And finally, this idea of games. It doesn't have to be games, but we just spent about an hour. Yeah? And we went through a roller coaster of emotions and ideas, and you were fighting with each other whether it should be like that or like that. And you had so much more brain power at work than in the conventional way in which we spend time, which is either reading reports or writing reports or sitting when someone else is talking. So I invite you to consider more interactive ideas which can enable people to talk to each other in a different way. You play Snap with your competitor from the other ministry. Your tourism, the other fellow is, I don't know, transport. You're much more likely to want to work together after you've snapped a few times, especially if you're snapping about climate resilient development. I wish all of you very good luck. All that we do is available for free. If you want to learn more, I'm around until the end of today. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thanks for the trust.